Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And we've taken a little time off recently, and we are back. And we are back because our main focus has always been really trying to be LGBT, all things LGBTQ marketing and media and so forth. And of course, as we know, podcasts are hot. And we're here with somebody that I met in the media through the marketing world with Bryan Ruiz, Ruiz and his cousin John. And the two of you have come together with a new podcast, Out Loud and Laughing.
Yes, yes. Thanks for having us, Matt. We're super excited to be here.
Absolutely. But I love the tagline, two gay cousins, big talks, bigger laughs. So I've seen some of the highlights of your shows, and you two seem to have a great dynamic together.
Well, we appreciate that. We think we have a good dynamic too, which I think is why we started this podcast. Yeah, so happy to dive in. Would love to
Yeah.
talk about it.
But how'd you get started? Like what was the inspiration to, you guys have grown up and known each other, and what made you decide you're going to do this?
Well, Brian and I have always had this like super entrepreneurial dynamic. I mean, since we were children, we did projects such as like our own hand annotated like Disney magazines, for example, where Brian would do research and I would draw. And then this last December, Brian said we should do a podcast and sort of celebrating the unique and dynamic relationship that we have. Um, it's been such a joy and such a pleasure to sort of dig into this new world of podcasts, which is super hot these days and such a great platform to get a lot of topics covered in a short amount of time.
Yeah, no, it really is. I just yesterday we were driving, my husband and I were driving to New York, going
Mm.
to see something on Broadway. It's what we do. And as we're driving in now, we tend to listen to podcasts. And so the first podcast was a geeky one that Brian, you may know. It's Hard Fork. And so we were listening to Hard Fork, and that was fun. And then we switched over after that was over, and we listened to the Culturistas. And when I you guys are all in that same general genre in that bucket, which is just kind of really making, especially in today's day and age, making life fun and bringing guests and different people, and their stories to light. And but that's what I was going to say seems unique with you guys, because you guys really, with the number of episodes you've created, you've got a variety of different kind of styles, or micro styles of what you
Yeah.
dove into, but you guys really make it fun.
Yeah, I think well, thank you first. We have so many different topics on our podcast, but I think what unites us is that we're cousins. But I think our more importantly, our story is that we're not really cousins. Is that it's interesting because our dynamic is John and I were raised very close to each other, so we're more like brothers,
Yeah.
and our moms are sisters and our dads are brothers actually. So from a DNA standpoint, we technically are brothers. And then also just being raised with each other, and then being we're only 3 months apart in age. We're
Yeah.
both gay. Like there's so much shared experience, both serious and funny, that we just want to bring all parts of us to this podcast. And I think that's why you get it. There'll be a podcast of something very serious with politics, and the next one, John and I are doing something very slapstick. And so we just like the idea of that. And it feels good and it feels authentic. So I think that's why we've been doing this. It's been easy because John and I would do this without recording. So we just figured, let's hit the record button and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you interviewed some because, like I said, you do a different styles or genres in there. We'll talk about some of those, but one of them, I was going through. You interviewed some folks that we had met with and interviewed recently with the Broadway husbands. So I love that. And but I think what happens is that you guys are able to bring out, like, any of us that are doing these things are able to bring out different sides and different
Mm.
stories from these folks. And but you've done a few interviews, I think, along the way.
Yeah, we were so excited. Broadway Dads was actually one of our debut partners in our podcast, and we were so honored to host them, and we learned so much about their journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of unique about, or that's what drives our podcast, right? Is a lot of the curiosity that Brian and I have around journeys. Having him and I both having very different ones, with him being a father, and me having recently having a separation and finding myself in the real world again. We sort of have all of these interests. And so we've had the honor of bringing on Brian Rosenberg from Gay with Kids, and GWK Academy, who recently taught us about all the work that they're doing there. And I really encourage your audience who's learning or growing families right now to go look at their materials. They're priceless, to be honest, and they're available.
Yeah.
We've also had, some of our personal friends, as well as some people who are sort of up and coming. A good friend of mine, Eric Swanson, who's the star drag queen down in Wilton Manors, Florida. He just launched a movie that they've been on circuit for the last couple of years, and this past Saturday went live on Hulu. One of the cast members on there, fifth place on RuPaul's Drag Race, excuse me, Miss Susie Toot. And so we've just like sort of like dug into all things queer, be it the stage, be it real life, be it vulnerable, be it funny, be it serious. I mean, there are so many facets to all of this that we feel there are endless possibilities, and hopefully our dynamic helps brings out those stories in a different and unique way.
I think it does. I loved the other ones though. I mean, I took some notes because like these are too good. The one word gay icon guessing game. What is that?
Again, John and I don't know, maybe it's just that John and I were raised with the game show network because our parents didn't want to parent us. They just put us in front of the TV. But we love the idea of just a game. And so we've been trying to figure out just different games to play with each other. And then, of course, with the queer spin. So,
Yeah.
again, some of that just like it's lighthearted. It's John says a word, I guess the gay icon based on that, and vice versa. And I don't know. Again, it's things that we would do by ourselves. So we just thought we would record it, we it's so funny. John and I always say we think we're funny, so maybe the world will too. And yeah, I think it just helps.
There's something that happens with Brian and I dynamically where, even the story goes that at Thanksgiving, we're not even allowed to sit next to each other. Our family has had it. And so there's just this thing that happens when we start talking, our brains sort of like this osmosis of like finishing thoughts and bump set spiking with puns. It's silly, it's fun, and the jokes are really not that great, but I think it's our reaction to them that makes them land.
No, this is perfect. And but I mean, you guys have you've taken this on the road a little bit, and so you've even been out at a variety of different Pride festivals. It's Pride Month right now in June, and you've been out with that. Do you guys set up a booth, or do you actually do like live podcasts out at the Pride Fest?
Good question. No, I think where we've actually again we're very new still. I think we're like 6 months in, and we're just figuring out our what we do, right? And so like John and I went to the kickoff of Pride in Asbury Park in New Jersey, which was
Oh,
really fun.
yeah.
And we didn't pod, but we take a lot of content. Like as far as like we just try to bring our viewers in. It's actually John and I jumped into the world of live streaming at the Asbury Park. So we were able to live stream our entire event, which was very entertaining. So I think we've been doing that, but I think while we've been engaging with the Pride kind of activities, we've been just taking that and turning them into content for everyone to understand, like what our experience was, how we felt in those moments, right? Again, some of it feeling really proud and some of it feeling very scared and just uncovering things from our childhood. So we've been taking, I think, all the inspiration from Pride and figuring out what that means for us and turning that into content. And honestly, I think that's in the last month has actually brought John and I even more closer together because we've uncovered that even though we've been raised together and we have shared experience, there is almost 50% of our experience that the other one didn't know about. So I think that's been kind of the interesting thing just for he and I from a growth standpoint.
Well, especially with Pride. Pride is an area where also I would say, especially moving forward over the next few years, because there's a lot of stories about corporations and brands pulling back from supporting Pride and so forth. But you are still seeing a lot of companies, large and small, trying to figure out creative ways to be able to kind of be out there. And I think working with influencers and thus also folks such as yourself, I think is going to become more of a new future when it comes to how they figure out what kind of media to work with.
Mm.
I think it's a really interesting point, especially if you look sort of how brands have positioned themselves just generally over the past decade, where they've become more aspirational, they've become more B to H, more business to human, really trying to identify with their audience on a more personal lifestyle level.
Yeah.
And so we would love to be a platform to help tell some of those stories. Again, the way Brian uses bounty paper towels to clean up his kids' mess is very separate from the kind of messes I'm making on my end over here. So, not to be too coy, and a little silly there in innuendo, but in all seriousness, I do think that people are, having all of the technology advancements around creating video content, which we know has the most highest levels of engagement, will, really help brands connect with their audiences on a more personal and engaging level.
Yeah.
That's a
And
very
I
good
think
point.
and I think just to add to what John is saying, because he's so right, I think the biggest thing that we truly bring is that we let our guard down completely. John and I don't edit. We bring our full story and we have cried on the pod. We like there is nothing that we have hidden about our lives. And I think that's what we want to continue to do because we want to continue to be our authentic self. And we think that's going to help resonate with our audiences because we're just truth. And whether it's good or bad, or whether you agree with it or not, we are truth, and we are here, and this is our story. So I think we're sticking with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes to a fault.
But again, as I said in the beginning, that's how, Bryan, you and I met, is because I know you were very out there. I mean, if anybody is going to be able to really kind of be creative in working with brands, and large and small, and just figuring out ways to be able to become part of the podcast, I think it would be you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been, I don't know, again, we are super excited, and even just connecting with old friends like yourself, right? It's just been nice to reconnect and realize that, like, it's Jon and I talking, but it's such a larger community, which I think, going back to your earlier question, which is why we so often want to bring more people into the conversation. Because I think Jon and I, as much as we want to talk about ourselves and our stories, we're such a small facet of this entire community. And the more we can bring in, the more not only can we raise awareness for other people's stories, but the more that Jon and I can learn and grow, right? Because I think, this is such an opportunity for he and I just to get stronger and grow and learn more about our community and get closer to it. So selfishly, it's been something that's been really nice for us.
That's as authentic as it gets.
Yes, agreed.
No, I love that. But no, this is great. And we're going to make sure that when I post this, I'm going to have not only have links, especially in the YouTube version, links to all your website and all your social media, where folks can find you on all the different platforms, and but also tagging you. So, because I think it's fantastic, and I think it'll be great for folks to be able to dive in and discover you, and listen to you on their way into New York as well.
That would be awesome. That'd be awesome.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for taking some time out to share your story with our audience. And for both of you, I look forward to connecting in the real world soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Matt. We appreciate it, and talk soon.
You got it.
And it feels good, so good, coming back again.